That's what I always say. You've heard me say it many times.
I think you start learning.
You'd think that, but no.
You keep doing all that living, but no learning.
Is that what I've been doing? Living? Listen, once again, another social grenade I jumped on while you kicked back at the house. Feet up.
At work.
Feet up, relax.
My feet were up.
I will say the food was outstanding at the reunion. I had meatloaf. I had ham with the pineapples in there. I had...
hey, we like what you like.
Better late than never. We're here. We're here. You ever seen that clip? You remember the $1 Million Man from back in WWF? You know, hey, what's up, fellas? He had his own $1 million belt made. You remember the money belt? So there were these sequences where he would go to this jeweler and check on the status of the belt. You know, and the guy'd be like, and he'd show him the belt. It's like, that's not good enough. It doesn't have enough jewels on it. You know, it's super over the top. So finally, in the ultimate finale of these little vignettes, he comes to the jewelry store with Virgil, his like secondary guy, security guy, and he's, for whatever reason, he's in a full cape, like a black cape with the collar, like a vampire. And keep in mind, the jewelry store is full of people, okay? He comes in, he goes, I'm here! He throws the cape off. It's one of the all-time great entrances. And he's laughing in $1 Million Man style. Where's my belt? And they finally show him the belt, and the guy's like, and it's covered in velvet. And he goes, this is the finest belt. It's got 15 million diamonds, 18 million karat gold. And he's like, let me see it. I want it now. I want it now. He's acting like Veruca Salt. And they finally throw the thing in his eyes wide, and he's like, there it is. It's the most valuable belt in the world. It's mine. And he laughs for like 10 minutes just to cackle like Mr. Burns. It's one of the all-time great baloney scenes in the history of TV. It was so good.
ADS.
I love that. But the cape's what got me. Because I always thought to myself, this is a great way to make an entrance. Just scream, I'm here. Just throw your cape on the floor. That's the way you should do it.
Makes me want a cape.
It does. When did capes go out?
Oh, no.
You mean you're not a Seinfeld guy? There was an episode where this guy had a lawyer. George saw his dad talk to this lawyer, and the lawyer was wearing a cape. Like a... He's like, you never trust a lawyer in a cape. And he was this guy that wore a cape. I always liked that. More capes. Hides the hiney as well. What are you doing? Being weird? That's right. That's true. You don't watch IT Crowd, do you? My God. What do we talk about? You don't watch nothing. You don't see nothing. I watched a movie last night while I was recovering from my bee sting. I got stung at the picnic by a yellow jacket. I was telling Brent earlier, I reached down to grab some Sun-Kissed, and it's a pop. And as I was putting it to my mouth, I thought, man, what a weird sensation. Ah! And it was a yellow jacket that had been having his own Sun-Kissed, and he stung me right on the lip. And it made me a loopy for a few hours. So I sat down somewhere nice and cool and dark, and I watched The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The whole movie last night. You ever seen that movie? You've seen that movie, yes, the whole thing?
Yes.
It's
like it's like 7 hours long.
It's real long.
It's what is now average. Well,
it's like 2 hours and 25 minutes. So it's a long movie, but it's a great movie. Wow, Paul, you're all man, brother. The music in that is off Ennio Morricone or whatever. That's off the charts in that. But Eli Wallach's on fire in that movie. He's the guy that makes that movie go. Great flick. Great movie. But anyway, it was a surreal experience. Something tells me that you could get yellow jackets to sting in. Maybe, it might work for you.
I mean, if you're some kind of lightweight loser.
Maybe you could smush a bunch of them and just eat them, and that might do the same. You might get the same reaction.
Go right ahead, Aaron.
You know what yellow jackets are often referred to as? We looked it up because I kept saying they were bees, and Luke told me I was wrong.
Hornets.
No. Well, they're in the wasp family. They're not actually bees, but they're commonly referred to as meat bees, which is a much more sinister name than yellow jacket. Yellow jacket, also one of Hank Pym's many alternative the identities in Marvel, because aside from Ant-Man, Giant Man, Hank Pym Adventurer, he was also Yellow Jacket. None of this means anything to you.
I'm just.
You're not really. There's not a lot of back and forth here. You're just sort of sitting there, like looking sad and bored. That's not a good. We're supposed to stimulate you in some way. How am I doing?
Oh, I guess I'm stimulated.
No, come on. Come on.
I'm regretting my decision to not get a drink.
Yeah. Oh, do you want? I've got 2 drinks here. Would you like a spare drink?
Is it cold?
Yeah, it's cold-ish.
It's not cold at all.
If you don't want it,
though. No, I appreciate the offer.
why don't you drink some of the mini drinks you've left on my fridge over the months?
They're empty.
Yeah, you're supposed to throw them away. Teresa Jr.
Trash
Do I need 2 of you? No, it's not. What's up, a card? We have a special day, theoretically, because we're going to be, right around noon, we're going to be interviewing ARG alumnus, if you will, Dean Bent. The Dean is going to be here on a Zoom call for a little half-hour ditty. I'm looking forward to that, the Brent. Yeah. You. What is wrong with you today? You need to perk up, little trooper. Tell everybody what you've been up to.
Work, and although I've had a lot of fun at work. It's been annoying, but still fun. I've got to do a lot.
Ooh, in the ear.
Stiff.
That's bad times right there. Stung in the ear. That's not good. Well, it's not.
Baby's first piercing.
That's not. It doesn't pierce the flesh all the way through. That's a super yellow jacket the size of your fist. That'd kill a baby, you idiot.
Would kill a baby.
You know, let's talk about your. Since we don't have an ARG this week, let's talk about your well-received, stupidest thing I've ever been a part of music video. It's been quite popular. What do you attribute this popularity to?
It not sucking.
No, that can't be what it is. Try again.
I mean the song not sucking.
Yeah, your lyrical prowess was only matched by your video non-prowess.
Hey, I like that song. I think it's fun.
I said it was good. Oh man, everyone's taking one.
Citrus drop, huh?
No, incorrect. This is citrus drop, 0 sugar. Because I'm sweet enough, sunshine. Remember that? You never saw that movie either, did you? Snatch, Lock, Stock, and 2 Smoking Barrels, any of the Guy Ritchie films? Oh, well, I try. Yeah. Yeah. There were Yellow Jackets all over the place down there at the picnic, and the park was rife with them. I couldn't believe it. Rife with them.
You know, the temperature is supposed to go stupid high again.
Yeah, that's why we're here in the air-conditioned comfort of the Amiga Studios East.
I would have thought we were here because this is where all the equipment is.
Well, that's also true. Yeah, and it's functioning great. In case you're wondering why we were 10 minutes late, it's because we couldn't get the camera to work for whatever reason, which is now a weekly occurrence.
No.
For me.
There we go.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know what's the difference. I don't know. So we're...
Hey, good on your next door neighbor, Petzel.
What'd the neighbor do? Oh, man,
Keeps
honeybees. What's he do with them? That's the key question here.
I wish I was dedicated and talented enough to keep bees.
Well, what are you going to do? Some people are dedicated and talented, and some people aren't.
Yeah, I think pretty sure that's what I just implied.
So you're wearing that off-green hat again. As I like to call it, the green screen buster. I'm going to buy you a non-green hat.
Okay.
What's your favorite other colors?
Well, my favorite other colors would be purple, but purple hat probably wouldn't work as well.
You'd be pimping when you wore that.
Orange. Orange is always good.
My God, your color choices are flamboyant. For someone that's sitting here in a brown shirt, gray shorts, and a grayish green hat, you're like, I love purple and orange. I've never seen you wear purple and orange in my life.
I wear purple a lot, actually.
When on this show have you worn purple?
Oh, I have. Plenty of times.
I don't remember
I have
that.
a purple shirt that I wear to work.
Anybody remember him wearing a purple shirt?
Yes, I guarantee I've worn a purple shirt on the show at least a dozen times.
Yeah, that's what he needs. I've got one of those in my car. The orange toques. You can wear one of those. You can be the Mike Nesmith of the group. I'll be Mickey Dolenz.
Now, see, I'd rather if we're gonna go that route, I'd rather get one of those lumberjack hat with the flaps.
Yeah, but you look like a tool in those. I mean, more so. Well, you're not supposed to revel in your toolery.
Oh, sorry. Erg. No.
You're not supposed to enjoy it.
Oh. You're limiting my options here, man.
Let me get back to what I was saying before about today's event. So, again, we're going to start the show in a little bit, and because we're just kind of getting our feet wet here. We're not in a hurry. But
you don't think we can go 90 minutes on,
No.
on this Demolition
Well, that's okay, because I got to have a
Derby?
little bit of time to get the show set up for Dean Bent. So I think we could probably keep streaming during that time if we wanted to. It's up to you. By the way, this is the first time probably 5 or 6 years that we've streamed the pre-show on YouTube. Hello, everybody on YouTube. It's good to see you.
We can't see your chat, but we're glad you're there.
I can see their chat just fine. It comes out in the chat.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I got a gimmick that combines all chat, you see. So if you're on there, good day.
If you're on YouTube right now, say, hey, look at me, I'm on YouTube.
Well, since we don't advertise so much on YouTube, you know how that goes. But anyways, we're going to start showing the live show on YouTube for all the shows me and Brent doing the retro rotation, and for Amigos, we're going to give YouTube a taste of that. And then after the initial live showing, you'll be able to head over to Patreon and watch it again, or if you missed it, you can go watch it. It's a cunning plan, I think. Plus,
Here's the
makes
thing.
it easier for YouTube.
Yeah, okay. We have, this is the end of August, basically.
Yeah, it is.
So that our next big thing is Thanksgiving, right?
Well, no. The next big thing will be International Computer Club in September.
That's in September.
And then we've got a full month of conversations from the dark side.
Well, yeah. I'm trying to think of things that people are excited
Hey,
for.
that got over last year.
It did better.
What do you mean? What are you, the ratings guy? It's not that big. It did pretty good.
It did better. No,
It was fun because me and Flack had a good time.
Praise.
It did. But you can't just say it did great. You say it did better. If it did hideous for years, better still stinks.
Well,
I mean, that's where go ahead with what you're saying.
no, I think you got to
What's
what
up,
I was
Pac Billy?
saying.
What's up, Macron? Hey, good to see you, man. Go on.
Hey, guys out in chat land.
Oh, jeez.
We are considering a camera upgrade. If you guys know of any affordable cameras, like shooting cameras for the show.
Did you have to hick it up at the end? Shooting them shooting cameras. They're so fancy.
That way they'll know we're desperate for help. We are going to start replacing some equipment.
Well, that one. Everything else is great,
Yes.
I think.
Oh, that's not very nice. I don't want to see us better either, but I want the camera to work when Aaron turns it on.
He's not wrong, Brent. We might make that happen, Pac. Yeah, but Control-Alt-3 says solar panel show money. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, we're not doing that. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, a good camera nowadays shouldn't cost a ton.
Really?
I
and
think.
yet, it shouldn't. I agree with that part.
What's our budget, Aaron? Have we thought about that?
I don't know. We've never had a budget before.
What about it's $6 grand?
$6 grand? Are you out of your mind? God, $6 grand. You're an idiot.
So, well, actually, about
we
that?
don't have our budget is we see how much one costs and then we try to find it half that price. That's the budget.
Then we start looking for trucks.
Yeah. So yeah. So that's the budget right there.
That's it, HDS. We're gonna become a full self-made movie stream.
What if you can host these Zoom meetings without having the software? I think you can, right? Just through the browser.
I don't know.
We might just do that.
You'd have thought you'd have done that research before.
Well, it's coming together late, you know. I knew I had time, so no worries.
I'm
What's up, TSI Matt?
I'm hoping we can get a replacement camera, and it's not even a replacement camera necessarily, because this camera does fine when it works.
It's also boats.
But I mean, we know it is starting to struggle.
Probably need to turn that off, shouldn't I, in retrospect?
I don't know. It depends. What was that message?
I don't know.
Was it important?
Well, mate, no, it was nothing.
Oh, well then.
Carry on. I didn't ever get any good messages. They're always garbage.
Yeah, that's the one thing we don't want to get. We don't want to get a webcam. We want to get an actual, like right now.
I don't know if the webcam would work. I wouldn't mind a webcam.
No, I don't want a webcam. I want an actual.
We should get one of those old school cameras that you put the videotape in. Those are cool.
How's that going to be more reliable?
Well, I don't know. They're cool. I used to have one of those. I had one, but
I have a handy cam.
I had one with the VCR tape, but it didn't. It would cycle, like it had a lot of interference in it. But you could still make out the video pretty good.
Well, that's what the people wanted.
Oh.
Well, it's not the cleaning that's killing us, Dunk. It's the sometimes it just doesn't.
Dunk thinks
work.
the camera's dirty. Nope, that's what we look like, Dunk. Thank you. Yeah, why did we bring this up again?
Actually. You know they used to Vaseline the lens?
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Just take a handful. Everything's a dream sequence all the time. Get the chimes ready.
I would actually consider a GoPro. Because
those things aren't they costly?
Well, I mean, I expect we're going to have to spend probably $400.
Man, I'm not made of what? I gotta get a new computer and I gotta get a new camera right away.
No, that's you.
I got these couches. I got this thing right here. That costs a fortune. Just in this table. I'm just paying money left and right. I'm taking a bath on this show. I demand a bigger steak. You paid for nothing.
No, that's not true. I helped pay for this.
No, you didn't. You
yes,
didn't pay for any of this stuff. I've got the receipts.
This is the only thing I didn't pay for anything on.
I paid all of the stuff. I bought all of this stuff.
That's not true.
It's true. On the flip side, I do owe you money for that dumpster, so we'll call it even. There you go. I'm not saying
you brought the dump inside.
I'm not saying you're a cheapskate. I'm just saying.
You know how much that dumpster ended up costing?
Oh no, I don't know.
You don't want to know.
$1,200 bucks.
About $1,800.
Yeah, but you used a double. You did the double on it.
Well, no, we got screwed. Is what happened. But that's fine.
They charge you by the ton.
Well, we knew that was going to happen.
Well, how'd you get screwed?
People
love to hear about the dumpster.
They charged us for that one that they tried to drop off, and the guy didn't feel comfortable.
What's that mean? He must have met you.
He said it wouldn't fit, but there's been one there before that was that size.
Yeah.
But they charged us for a failed delivery or something. And
weird.
It's stupid.
When you get charged for failed delivery, you have to ask yourself, what's going on here? Failed delivery? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
It was. I started to go to war.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to do that.
Well, I would have went to war over that.
I'm tired, boss.
I would have went to war over that one, personally. That's just me. Well, do you think we should get this pathetic hoedown cooking? Unless the people are interested in more dumb.
No, I don't think we should get this hoedown started.
Why?
Because we're not going to go an hour on Demolition Derby.
Right, but I mean, we don't have to go the whole time. I've got other stuff to set up after this, so let's just get it going. We're not here just killing time. This is normal, natural. We can talk after. Let's get the show in.
Oh, so you want to just do the show?
Well, people are here to see the show. They don't want to hear you talk about your dumpster.
I don't know if that's true.
They do not. I promise you.
I mean, so we're not going to be reviewing Demolition Derby. Uh-oh.
I don't know what that means. Mike Matei. Isn't that the guy from Angry Video Game Nerd?
Why is that restricted? And why was that?
It's a likely harasser.
Oh.
That's cool. I've never seen that before.
Neat.
You probably can't see this, but someone that's a likely likely harasser just chimed in with a post about the angry video game nerd. Wrong show, harasser. You're wasting
That's awesome.
You're wasting your harassing skills. That's a new one. Well, live and learn.
Oh, then the best thing to do to a likely harasser is to endlessly talk about them.
Yeah. I count myself as a likely harasser. I think about it, so I have certain empathy for this guy.
Well, you're a likely asser. That's
what's
for
this guy's
sure.
name? And even the name it's not a pronounceable name. Like, what's Legend 1997? Is that what that's supposed to mean? Boo. That's not nearly cool guy enough. All right, let's get this party started. We're going to do a little COCO action. Are you ready for some COCO action, the Brent?
Yeah.
Would you get more fired up for some COCO action? Come on, everybody. It's like they're going to cheer. Yay! They didn't cheer for us when we were live. That's the that's the problem. Oh, I should get the Discord stuff ready here. Do you have something to say during the baloney portion of the event? We got baloney for this one.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do it.
And make it something intriguing. Don't make it something horrible.
You're not late, Curtis. We haven't started yet.
Hi, Curtis. El Curtis Boy, everybody.
Aaron had camera problems.
You know
this
it's
morning.
legit when El Curtis comes in. What's up, C64 TV? Hey, the longer we sit around, more people just come piling in.
Well, yeah.
That's the key.
But you're not watching the back end.
Oh.
Leaving.
Good point. It's like this one coming in and they're leaving out the back door double fast. All right, everybody, we're going to fire this sucker up. It's Tandy time. Tandy, 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 I can't let you go. Remember that Iggy Pop song?
Nope.
Anybody remember Iggy Pop? Ever heard of him?
I've heard of
Had
Iggy
a song
Pop.
called Candy.
Yeah,
But
I
see,
know.
I cleverly reworded it.
Oh, is that clever?
Wonder why I never thought about that till just that second. Oh, well. Here we go, everybody. They like Iggy. Here we go.
Smack 'em, stack 'em, black 'em, rack 'em. It's Demolition Derby on the COCO.
Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the COCO Show! This week, Brent,
Yes.
Sunday.
That's it.
TNT presents Demolition Derby.
Aaron, they're already watching the show. Do we need to keep harassing them like this?
We do.
All right, I guess you know your business.
Yes, this week we'll be taking a look at the legendary Tandy game Demolition Derby. By legendary, it's one of the games I saw almost every time I went to the Radio Shack. They actually had this one
Yes.
on the shelf.
This was and display playable.
Now, we could just jump right into the game.
Okay,
but
let's
we're
do
not.
it.
No,
Oh.
because there's not. Here's the problem with Demolition Derby.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of Demolition Derby talk in there, and I want to get some in. When's this opportunity going to come back around the COCO Show to talk about Demolition Derby? I'm a big fan of the Demolition Derby.
I figure you could find a way to shoehorn it in somewhere else.
And I'm going to tell you how I got into it, right? So, back in the day when I was a little young Amigo Aaron, I used to watch Happy Days with the folks. Remember
All right.
Happy Days?
Yeah.
There's an episode.
Well, sort of.
There's an episode of Happy Days where Fonzie and Pinky Tuscadero are in the Demolition Derby. I never heard of these before.
Okay.
And so they introduced me to the concept of Demolition Derby. And in case you're not familiar with it, I guess they're worldwide. I don't know. But you start with like X amount of cars, and they just ram each other until the last one moving wins. That's
Yes.
basically the way it works. And you take usually not the best cars are involved in this.
Yeah, you don't bring your Porsche to the Demolition Derby.
That's right. And the gimmick in this is you kind of want to ram your opponents with the back end of the car to protect your engine while avoiding getting hit with the front.
Right. Well, it's really less the engine, more the radiator, because you'll overheat in a minute when that thing's busted.
And so in the episode, Fonzie and Pinky are in their cars, much with other braces in the car, and there are these two guys called the Malachi brothers. All right, the Malachi brothers, they drove these black cars with the skull and bones on the side, and so they have this move they use called the Malachi Crunch.
Yep.
And they'll get on either side of you, and they simultaneously mush you with their car. So Fonzie, his car is stalled, and they line up for the Malachi Crunch, and right before they hit him, Fonzie uses his Fonzie magic to whack the steering wheel, and the engine comes on, and he backs away, and they hit each other. It's a great wrestling-style gimmick.
Yeah.
But Pinky's an idiot, okay? Her car stalls, by the way, this is highly illegal, and no one in their right mind would do this. But Pinky, being a dummy, she gets out of her car and is going to work on the car in the middle of the Demolition Derby. So the Malachis are like, but right before she gets out of the car, they set her up for the crunch, and then they crunch her, and then she gets mauled, taken to the hospital. That's the end of the Demolition Derby. But I was hooked. The Malachi crunch, the black car with the skull crosses I was in. And every once in a blue moon on the ABC Wild World of Sports, they would show a Demolition Derby.
Yep.
And it was a big one. They'd had these huge Demolition Derbies in like Milwaukee and stuff, where all these cars would get together, this big, huge stadium, and they'd have a big, huge battle. So I thought, okay, that's what Demolition Derbies are. So I was like, as soon as I was old enough, I was living in Kentucky, and they had the state fair. I was like, I'm going to these, or county fair. I was like, I'm going to go a couple of these Demolition Derbies. I want to see them live, all right? Boy, was I disappointed. Demolition Derbies at the local fair take place on a strip of land that's just wide enough to put a few cars on. Then they muddy the track up, and then the cars can barely move. Yeah. And so it's more like, I mean, cars get destroyed, sorta, but it sucked. The live Demolition Derby experience has not been the best. I went to 1 or 2 county fairs where they gave the guys enough space and left the track dry enough to where they could actually be some damage dealt. But for the most part, it's nothing like on TV or on a Wild World of Sports. It's been a disappointment.
So you're saying the local venue didn't meet the expectations of the worldwide premiere on television.
You got that right.
Okay.
You know, and I mean, the thing is, there are real Demolition Derbies, real ones that take place in like the South. Like people, despite what you may think, we're not in the South. We're sort of like the Mid-Atlantic. We're right there. We're on the border.
Yeah.
And so the South, I'm talking like Florida in particular, where they like there was a show I used to watch called Car Apocalypse.
Yep.
I love the Car Apocalypse because they would have all these crazy races. They'd race buses, and they'd do figure 8 races with buses and with cars with trailers. And they would also have big, realistic, real Demolition Derbies where you could get mauled because it's the South. It's a different breed of cat down there. You know, so have you ever seen a live Demolition Derby?
I have seen track style, like the figure 8 style.
That's not the same.
I understand,
that's a different thing.
But no, I've never seen a real, I guess, arena-based Demolition Derby.
What's someone like yourself, a neophyte in the professional sport of Demolition Derby racing? Like, what do you take from this spectrum, of this spectacle? You've seen it on TV. Like, what do you think about this? What does it do anything for you? The whole car smashing?
No, I think there's appeal there.
Yeah.
I know that my coworker helps with the county fair that just came and gone, and they do Demolition Derby there.
It stinks. I went to that one. Well, I went to one of them.
County?
Yeah, I've been to it a couple times. There's not enough room for the cars to maneuver with all that mud.
It's a lot of, when you get into the particulars, which I think if I was going to get into watching Demolition Derby, I would get into particulars of how you set your car up and what you're allowed, because you have to install a roll cage into your car, for example.
And they have to protect the fuel tank, and you have to take all the glass out. Yeah.
I think if there was a way of viewing the sport experience, whatever you want to say, to that level where they're showing the car modifications, kind of like Car Apocalypse did, I could get into that. But if I just was like, oh, I'm going to flip on the TV and watch a Demolition Derby, maybe one a year I could stomach, but it gets old. In my opinion, it gets old.
If anyone, by the way, I'm going to use this platform as a voice. If anyone can link me to the entirety of the Car Apocalypse TV show, the videos, I will be eternally grateful.
Yeah.
Because I've got like 1 or 2, and you can't find them anywhere.
Yeah,
and the second season, they changed the format, which was still okay, but not as good. I need some rainbow action. These were like, the one thing about that show, you had legitimate idiots that were doing legitimate idiot crap, which made it fun. So Demolition Derby's gotten the treatment in video games. This is probably one of the earlier video games. Of course, there was an arcade game called Demolition Derby, which I played. That's the one where you can, it's just a proper Demolition Derby with I think it's like, you can have up to 4 players, I think, at least 3. And you just travel around the track. And every time you win the track, it shows more of a hot chick in the intermission. So you can build the entire hot chick. They've sort of video digitized a woman. I played that at church camp, by the way. It worked out good. And then there, of course, probably when I think of like the premier Demolition Derby games, I think about that Psygnosis joint, Destruction Derby, when it came to PlayStation and PC. That was revolutionary. I didn't like any of the other stuff, but the Demolition Derby part was great.
Well, and that was probably the apex of Demolition Derby gaming.
I don't know, Wreckfest. There's been a ton more since then that are really good. But nobody, you don't hear me talk about it. But I think that was a super popular game because it had real car damage and stuff.
Do you think there's any market for a modern Demolition Derby game?
I think they're out there right now.
I mean,
Wreckfest is popular.
High budget.
Not just exclusively Demolition Derby.
Well, no, you've got to throw in the wacky track races. And
we covered a game, and it's one of Boat's least favorite episodes. But on our very first Xbox games episode, we covered on ARG Presents. We covered a game called Test Drive Eve of Destruction, which has it's great. That's one of the all-time great car games. And it's got a great Demolition Derby mode in it.
That's actually the one I was thinking of when we were talking about.
Yeah, so that's a real good one. So if you're looking to, and you can also have 4-player split screen, which is awesome. You get your boys. Me and Luke love it. So if you like that, you can trash buses. It's got all sorts of crazy events, and it's even got footage from Carpocalypse in it.
Yes.
So there you go. It's funny. I don't like cars. I don't know anything about cars, and I don't know how to work on cars. But I do like stuff involving their destruction because I like the Bull Run. I like Carpocalypse. I like Cannonball Run, stuff like that. I love that stuff.
You give in to your baser instincts a lot.
Oh yeah, whenever possible, man. Speaking of which, let's give in our baser instincts to talk about Tandy's Demolition Derby. Bam, we're right into it, folks. So, Brent, I think I know the answer to this, but had you tried this one out back in the day?
Yes, we. Almost certainly we had this, although my memories of it could just be from me playing it on the store display in the Radio Shack.
This is one that I absolutely played, but I will say I don't think I played it right. I think I learned a lot just the week playing the game. This was released in 1984 on the COCO, and also there was a Dragon release. There's a button combination you could hit this and change the screen to that green background.
Yeah.
So you could I wouldn't do that, but you could if you wanted to. This was developed by our personal favorite, the Spectral Associates. And the Spectral Associates have done tons and tons of games, including, but not limited to, Springster, the Pegasus game we really liked, Space Wreck, Interbank Incident, Galagod, Kicks, Beam Rider, Color Palette, Downland, Crystal Castles, tons and tons. And the actual programmer of this particular game is John Gabbard, who worked on Interbank Incident, which is one we covered on the show a while back, but that was a way ahead of its time game. He also worked on a game called Keys of the Wizard, and he worked on a C64 game called Roll Call USA. So I don't know what that is, but it was listed to. What a roll call? Maybe it just teaches you how to do, when you roll calls, it's like you say, yes, sir.
That's the whole game you just say.
Maybe it prompts you. This was actually published by Tandy, Radio Shack, and was all in the UK on the Dragon. Was published by everyone's favorite Micro Deal Limited. It's just like a Micro Deal. That's one of the crappier names that was around. It's funny. The Spectral Associates did some publishing, but eventually they just let Tandy publish all their stuff. Of course, this is a top-down, like 2D scrolling racing game. Not really. It's more of a, so let's try to describe this. Think bump and jump without the jump and replace the jump with a turbo. And that's what you've got here.
This is bump and bump.
This is bump and dump. So you are a race car on a scrolling let's assume this is a never-ending track. Or maybe it's a curved track that just took up a straight.
It's just,
It's a never-ending straightaway that you zoom down and attempt to wreck other racers on the track.
And by wreck, we mean bash them into the sidewall.
Except for the ambulance, which you don't get any points for killing the ambulance. So, you've got a scrolling. If you play this in normal mode, color-wise, you've got red. You're basically on a track that's black. and the sidebars of the track or walls or whatever like this are red-white.
Yeah.
All right, and then you're pitted against items that you would not normally find in the Demolition Derby, including like basically things that look like tractors. They give all this stuff wacky names in the manual, but it's basically like normal-looking cars and tractors, and there's an ambulance in there, and there's also gas tankers, okay?
Well, and bulldozers.
Well, that's what I mean. But I said tractor. That's what I mean.
No,
bulldozer.
it's a tracked
well,
bulldozer.
I mean, so each of these have a different capability of how far they'll bounce when you hit them, how far you'll bounce. Generally, if something's real tough, you'll bounce further than it'll bounce. And if something's not that tough, it'll bounce pretty good, and you'll be like, okay. Yeah. And the object of the game is to go as far as you can and without running out of gas, and you have to complete the level you're on. You have to knock out 15 cars. There's a little counter at the side of the screen that tells you how many cars you have to knock out. Now, you're probably asking yourself, hey, Amigo Aaron, because that's what you call yourself, why do you have the 4 joystick directions? What do you do with the button in there? Well, it doesn't jump. Jump is for suckers. This is a turbo button. Now, the turbo button sounds cool. It actually is cool. But when you use it, you burn through more of your fuel.
At an incredible rate.
Yeah.
You can't just hold the button down. You'll lose almost instantly.
At the bottom of the screen are fuel gauges. And there's actually 2 of them down there if you're playing 2 players, and there's still 2 if you're playing 1 player. We'll get to that. And so as you go through the course, you will run out of fuel. And so the only way to get more fuel is to destroy the old gas tankers. That shtick. How does it get in your tank? Don't know. This is the true derby tradition. It just sort of beams in. So just out of the gate, Brent, having not played this for many years, I'd wager.
True.
And I'm sure you played this before you read the docs. What did you think about this straight out and straight in?
First impressions.
Yeah.
I felt very annoyed.
That's not a good start.
Well, when you turn this thing on and you're expecting you to kind of be the big guy on the course,
yeah,
and you're out there running everyone into walls, you're not the big guy on the course. You're of the 5 vehicles, you might be 3rd in the hierarchy.
I'd say yeah.
And it's weird.
You're behind the tractor or bulldozer, and you're absolutely behind the gas tanker.
The fuel truck.
So you're at bare minimum, you're 3rd. You're right.
So it was very ping-pongy when you first load it up, and you don't feel like you have any control. And the worst thing in a driving game, which this is loosely a driving game, is feeling like you have no control. Although that feeling does get better. What was your first impressions?
Pretty much the same. So once I went through this, I was like, what am I doing? I had no idea. So I was like, I'm going to break out the manual. The manual begins with this flowery prose. If you'll indulge me, Brent. It says, the roar of the engines, the smell of burning rubber, the scraping of metal at high speeds, the wrecked, smoldering heap left behind. This is no ordinary race. It's Demolition Derby, and the stakes are high. Only the daring accept the challenge. Only the brave survive. If you like fierce competition, fast-paced action, and a heavy dose of danger, you have what it takes to be a serious Demolition Derby contender and maybe even a winner. So there you go. Pretty good. But once you get in the manual, this manual is unusual.
Yeah.
In that, a lot of the stuff it references are hand-drawn.
Yeah.
In color.
Yeah.
Which is odd. There's one great, in between page. It just shows a can of gas,
an oil can,
and a spark plug. I don't know why. So you learn. That's where you learn. Okay, the 15 cars, how to get more gas. And one thing I noticed, you're right. You do get ping-ponged around. So I thought to myself, there's got to be something to this turbo. And really, the turbo is sort of key in this game because you have to sort of crank it up to careen and stuff to get a little more action out of them. Some of the stuff in this game, and if you just try to hit it without turbo, I mean, you barely move it. The gas trucks are by far the hardest things to wreck. They will get right up on the raggedy edge of that course, and they won't go. And you need that oil out of those, and gas, whatever. And so you've got to just go in.
See, I played this differently.
Okay, what did you do?
I used the turbo purely defensively.
I tried that, but it didn't seem to help me that much. Because when you're careening, it doesn't really help you come out of the careen.
It does a little bit. It does a little bit. It makes it doesn't, like when you get bumped, if you're turbo and holding the other direction, it doesn't do anything. But what it does do is as soon as you stop your momentum from being bumped, it allows you to immediately go the other direction. If you're not doing turbo, you have to slowly pull out of that bump. Yeah. So that is almost primarily what I ended up using turbo on, strategically wise.
This game, well, let's talk about the multiplayer. So you can play a solo, or you can play simultaneous 2-player. Which this is sort of the cool gem of the game. And you can play you can play as a team or as people dueling, fighting each other. If you play as a team, you're sort of working together to get the 15 cards and move on. And as long as one person gets you there, you'll move on. All right. Yeah. If you play against each other, obviously you're just beating the crap out of each other into the wall. But it's still having this. That's probably the best way to play this game would be with 2 people.
Well, obviously that would make it more fun, right? Because you've got someone there to interact with that has some skin in the game, because the computer opponents just kind of neander. They don't necessarily aim to take you out, and they don't necessarily try to save themselves. They'll
take each other out sometimes.
Yeah, when they come on the screen, they have a angle and momentum that they're going to slightly drift left or right. Yeah. And if something gets in their way, if one's drifting faster than the other one, they'll bump into each other and they will react just the same as if you hit them. However, if you don't do anything, they'll just fade off the end of the screen no matter what. It's your speed, your up and down, doesn't control how fast the track scrolls. It only affects where you are on the screen.
The track's on a hard roll.
Yes.
So let's talk about some of the additional things that you don't see in like a bump and jump, and which is there are obstacles that will appear on the track in the middle of the track in various random places.
Well, that happens on bump and jump as well. But
no, I'm not big chunks of medium that will come down. For example, there'll be like a curb that will be inexplicably in the middle of the road. Yeah. Like if you hit it, you die. There'll also be like a wad of junk, presumably a wrecked car or something.
I always thought it was a rock.
If you hit that, you'll also be killed.
And you can bump your opponents into those things.
Right. Although it's funny, when you don't touch an opponent, they'll just go right through the rubble without any problem.
If they don't get bumped, they just kind of roll over the rocks.
The game has, it's not the perfect game. Let's put it that way. Now, there are problems, and the thing is, they could have easily been addressed, but they weren't. So, for starters, it is way too difficult to bump some of the bigger stuff. I mean, it's borderline impossible, and making the oil truck so incredibly difficult to bump into the wall is not a good thing. Well, it makes the game it makes the game exponentially harder. Plus, you've also got to when you hit some of this stuff, you will careen to the point where you hit the wall, and yet sometimes I've been knocked all the way across the screen almost with nary the ability to stop myself. The bouncing in this is it's too bouncy.
Well. Okay, here's my opinion on the game.
All right.
Because I guess we've reached that point.
Yeah.
This game is on the cusp of being something special, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't mind the bounce physics. I think it's something that you have to learn to adjust to.
They're too bouncy for me.
The game is designed to be, when you play it, you're going to have a game that lasts. When you first start playing it, you're going to have a game that lasts 30 seconds and it's done.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because towards the end, I never scored enough to get a free car, 10,000.
No, gosh. No.
But I got close. I was in the 7,000 range.
Right.
And I'm sure if I would have kept going, I could have got there. You learn what is safe and unsafe to do.
Yeah.
For me, I always drove towards the top of the screen, and I always drove in the middle. And I would only go after cars that were starting on an angle to take them to a wall.
How did you keep from hitting the different stuff that would cut the cement borders that would come down.
Defensive turbo. If I saw, because you can't press your nose all the way to the very tip top of the screen.
Yeah, I didn't hang out at the top hardly at all.
I did, because when you do that, you can track the direction of the cars and pull back to line up to hit them. Here's the other thing. If you are going down the screen and you go down diagonal left or right, you slide more than you think you will. Because there was a ton of times I would line up to smack into a car and go right below them.
Yeah, and you'll hit the wall. I had it. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to line it up.
But it's a learning process.
Yeah.
Once you start noticing that kind of stuff happens, you can correct for it. 3 big complaints of the game. Complaint number 1 is when you die, you have 3 lives. When you die, you do not get your fuel refilled.
That is a problem,
And the reason why that's such a big deal is when you get low on fuel, you're trying to get things. If you're low on fuel, it's too late already. You can't hit enough fuel trucks or have the opportunity to hit enough fuel trucks to get back to full. Once you get really below 3/4, I just consider that guy gone, and I try to run out of fuel rather than die. Since you don't get your fuel back when you die, you have to play that way, and I think that's annoying.
Yeah. I hate it. And there's other words than losing a life, coming back on, and then the second you're there, you die.
Yes,
I hated that.
Because you run out of fuel. Thing number 2, do not turbo unless it is absolutely necessary. I know you were saying you using turbo as an attack.
Well, usually when I was going after oil trucks so I could get that gas back real quick and get it.
Well, the problem is
you come out ahead if you do it.
You do if you get it, but if you smack it and it doesn't go far enough or something, you waste fuel. I only use turbo defensively and very sparingly. And since I stayed pretty much in the middle unless I was going for an attack, I was doing okay for that. Problem number 3, and this is, in my opinion, the biggest problem with the game, is the scoring is far too generic. It's, one car's worth 100, second car's worth 2.
I got the scoring right here. The Amigo is worth no points.
Which is dumb, because the only way you can kill it is by knocking other cars into it, so that should have been worth big points.
The gas just gives you gas.
Yes, you get no points for a tanker truck.
The kind of pointy car gets you 100, the black car gets you 200, and the bulldozer gets you 300 points. That's the scoring right there.
And that is boring scoring, okay? Boring scoring. And they could have adjusted it to super easy. There's a lot, and it would encourage more action on the screen. Every time you bump a car that bumps into another car, if the car that gets bumped goes into the wall, you get the points for it. Awesome, cool. So why not count those bumps as a multiplier?
Yeah, that would be cool. I thought about the same thing myself.
I already spoke about the ambulance. The ambulance comes up from the bottom of the screen and is pretty much indestructible unless you bump another car into it. That's cool. I think that's a fun extra enemy. But you get no points for killing it. So all you do is you see this slow-moving ambulance coming up the screen, and you just stay to the other side.
Yeah.
It's super easy to avoid. It would have been fun to have made that like a bonus thing. I know, don't destroy ambulances. I get all that. Don't make it an ambulance. Make it a tow truck or something.
Yeah.
Because everyone likes to kill those guys. Thing number 3, or on the scoring, multipliers, scores for ambulances, have later levels make the cars worth more. Because really, advancing to the next course after the 15 kills, it gives you your fuel back, but then it's just the same game with extra obstacles. The rocks appear a little more frequently. Ambulances start showing up the deeper into the game you get.
How far into how many courses did you complete? I did not get real far.
I can't remember. I think I've been on the 4th course.
Yeah, I think I got to the 3rd course one time.
But there's no motivation.
The colors don't even change. It's not even a palette swap.
Yes, you get your fuel back, and that's fine. But if you're watching what you're doing, for me, I got to the point where I would only go after the bulldozers for the 300 points because I didn't want to advance, or I wanted to get as much out of what this earlier stages as I could before there was extra obstacles. So that there is a little bit of play, a little bit of strategy on that, but there should have been more. This is a high-point game. You have to make the scoring interesting, and they absolutely failed to do that.
I just think this game is kind of generic, if you want the honest truth. They took the bump and jump concept. They messed around with it a little bit. I don't hate the, Turbo, as I recall, was saying that you had to pass a certain amount of people to complete the level.
Yes.
I like that concept of the game.
I don't.
I think it's okay. I like building up the meter on the side to get something to shoot for. But, listen, I know this is a COCO, but how about if you've got so little going on, how about an in-game tune? How about a palette swap when we get to the next course? How about a congratulatory ditty? How about something? Even in bump and jump, when you complete the course, you pull into the gas station.
Yeah.
How about the gas station? Jody Phillip, where's something like the dump truck that just randomly dumps stuff on the screen? The bounces are too high. When you die, you have to wait for the entire screen to clear of cars before it brings you back. So you
that's a bonus.
That's not a bonus. You sit there for 5 seconds waiting for all the cars to clear.
Well, but the alternative is they drop you into the middle of the screen and you're immediately
it takes forever. Just reset the screen.
I'm okay with the way they did that. The only way you can die is hitting the left and right wall.
No, you can run out of gas.
Oh, I even run out of gas, of course. But
you run out of gas too often. There's not enough. The oil trucks are too hard to kill.
Well, the issue becomes you have to focus on the oil truck.
Yeah. And that's not as much fun.
And you get no points for the oil trucks.
You bounce too hard off stuff. I mean, you'll be doing well, you'll think, and then a car will just come down and you'll happen to nick it and he'll shoot you to the wall. I mean, it's not as forgiving as bump and jump was.
Oh, no, definitely not.
And that's not good. It doesn't have the multipliers, like you said. It doesn't have that stuff. It's just, it does have I'll give them the 2-player.
Yes.
And I like there are aspects of it that I like, but I think it could have been, with a little tweaking, this could have been a better game. And the thing is, the Tier City Color Computer has color computer, what's it called? Color computer action. Color car action, I think that's what it's called, the bump and jump clone.
Yeah.
It's way better than this. And, it's a way better bump and jump clone, and it's also looks better and it's a better courses. Everything about it's better.
But this can be played on more systems.
That'll play on every system. The only difference is that you don't have the 2-player option that you do in this. The 2-player option, and especially if you can team up.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I don't want to bury this thing. It's not hideous, but it's not as good as it could have been, which is a real bummer. By the way, you mentioned what your score was.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was looking for reviews of this on Rainbow and stuff. I couldn't find any, but I did. They do have a high score chart. I just grabbed one of the high scores on this. A fellow named Bob DeWitt out of Blue Island, Illinois is the one I grabbed. His high score in this game, allegedly, 365,400.
The biggest problem with
that is a ton of score.
That for a score that high, this becomes an endurance game. And I don't want to play that.
Well, it would be an endurance game.
That score, because the most you can score at a time is 300 points. So that score would have taken, hours, tens of hours.
Curtis just actually made you not an idiot. I'm in the chat. He says that Brent means color call action only requires 32K memory, and Demolition Derby only needs 16K memory.
That's correct.
Which is true, but he didn't know that. But Curtis still saved your bacon on that one.
I knew that. That's why I mentioned it.
32K. It's not like there's not a lot of COCOs that have 32K memory.
Just saying, this can be played on more systems.
I did look this up on eBay, Brent, and this is one of the carts that is in the generic box, in the States, and this will run you sometimes it's probably the prices fluctuate on this quite a bit. Sometimes a loose cart would go for more than one in the box. I guess just who was looking for it at the time.
Yeah.
$25 to $35 will generally take this to the house.
I think that's a lot.
Well, I mean, sometimes
for the cart, okay.
I mean, you may get it cheaper. These things, it's not like there's a ton of them out there. This is one of the games, when it comes to reviews, and we got some to read off, but I want to talk about my faves, the Ice People. They did a review on this, Demolition Derby. He gave it a B-. He mentions that
that's fair.
He mentions that this is the first game he ever figured out how to copy the ROM cartridge from the memory of the COCO and save it on disc. It's the first game he ever pirated up cartridge. He says, what about the game? He goes, well, I managed to get some fixes for my pirated game a few months later, and it's okay, but not in a not terribly exciting way. It's a conversion of the arcade bump and jump, and it's done
not.
fine. It sort of is, but
not at all.
But it doesn't have any elements that make it all that addictive. Your role is to guide your car along a track that scrolls from the top of the screen downward, forcing all the other cars off along the way. The harder the car is to push, the more you bounce off of it, and therefore are in danger of hitting the sidewalls, and the more points you get for it. If I recall right, this is also critical in keeping your fuel supply going and advancing to further levels. Better than a lot of driving games in the market, but I'd still boot up 2 or 3 better titles before considering this one. And the titles he mentions are Speed Racer, Pit Stop 2, which I would agree are probably, I don't know, Pit Stop 2, the pit stop part was funny, but the actual gameplay was okay. We actually got quite a few reviews on the COCO show this week here.
This is an easy player, that's why.
Yeah, and of course, this is one you can play online if you'd like. So
yeah.
The Jazz Dog chimed in, the dog. Who's a frequent TSI player. We've been playing with him quite a bit. Jazz Dog says, it's been long suspected that there exists a Valhalla for rednecks. That's a good way to start your review. A great junkyard in the sky where grizzled old mechanics, having proven their worth by fixing up both Thunderbirds, compete in an eternal demolition derby on a dead straight, never-ending highway. Should you find yourself there, it will take all your driving skills you learned in life to control the bobsled you will be given. No Thunderbirds here, dear Cletus. Your eternal chariot will drive worse than a Yugo in a frozen duck pond. Well, Jazz Dog's on fire. In order to destroy your competition, you must force them into the walls, lining the eternal road. You'll find this often as dangerous to you as the other road warriors. Your car, already barely responsive, will become uncontrollable when you trade paint. The occasional road obstacle will make this all more treacherous. Your vehicle also requires gas, which can be gained by crashing oil trucks. Those big suckers are hard to move, and sometimes only the fates will position them in a position where you have a chance of gaining some of their sweet nectar. The risk must be taken, or your battle will end the eternal shame of an empty fuel tank. There's some fun to be had, testing your patience and setting up for the perfect bump, or careening vehicles into each other, or using a bump to shoot your car away from the obstacle in your path. Skill can be employed if you have the strength to fight the understeer. A wise warrior will employ patience, picking targets with great care and cunning. The best way to derby is not to derby. 6.5 oil pans out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
What a review that was from the Jazz Dog. This guy's got Jack.
He's got lyrics, man.
We got another one of our perennial favorites here, the Pajaco, who chimes in. For a handful of games, this is fine. Play for longer, and you'll be hurling abuse at the TV like a trooper.
Yes.
The problem is I did play for longer just to have one more go. I did not get to the end of the first course, no matter how hard I tried.
Ooh, Pajaco.
That's because you don't get to the end. Maybe he didn't know that.
Well, no, you do. It says course complete.
Well, I know, but you don't get there. It just shows up. The game is very much risk and reward, and it's really about choosing your momentum to slam other cars off the road. I like that you can gain fuel, also bashing cars into fuel trucks to knock them fuel trucks off the road. A lot of the times, I felt like I lost control of my car when hit, and it just shot across the road and slammed into the wall. I agree. I swear, I almost broke my joystick shaft pulling that sucker to one side. Possibly I need an analog stick. By the way, this does play great with the Black Beast. This is how I played it. I wasn't a fan of not refueling when you crash, as you can just crash with low fuel, respawn, and run out of fuel, die again very quickly. And also, your opponent's cars to recover from a hit a lot quicker than you, and there was some BS not hitting the wall when they should have been going into it for sure. That's true. That's the way I felt. A Demolition Derby is not going to set the world on fire, but it's fun in short doses, and probably a riot in two-player. 5 out of 10 PS. There was part of me expecting to come across some frogs trying to cross this road while playing it. Yeah, I can understand that. And then rounding out the reviews, the King Dong of Gaming, El Curtis, boy, all hail, who states, Demolition Derby is a Tandy exclusive Spectral Associates game. They only sold through Tandy, never on their own. I'll view it as an okay version of Bump and Jump without the jump. While it's fun to run drivers off the road and ram them into each other or the walls, and sometimes tempting to do in real life. What? Don't do that, Curtis. and also to hit fuel trucks to get fuel, which he questions. The game gets repetitive fairly quickly. The sound is just okay. There's not hardly any sound. If you only knew about software sold by Radio Shack at the time of its release, it would be an okay game. But with other third-party games like a Color Car Action available, this one falls short. 5 out of 10 overall score, 6 out of 10 if Radio Shack sold software only. And try Color Car Action for some actual bump and jump action, particularly the recently optimized ones. This maybe should have been called Bump and Grind. After playing it for a while, you feel like it's a grind. There you go. Man, that's some good action there. The reviewers were feeling spunky. Something set them up on this one to get them fired up.
I think I enjoyed this more than everyone.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the first thing that would help is forget about a bump and jump. It is like bump and jump to a certain degree, but I mean, the strategy's totally different in this. In bump and jump, you're trying to avoid people a lot, and then you hit people when you have to. In this, you have to strategically hit people to get that bump up that scoring or the hit counter. But overall, it's middle of the road. I think this concept could be tweaked to make this a lot more fun. This game can be tweaked to make it a lot more fun.
Yes.
I just found it midland, sort of a low effort, especially from someone who did the Interbank Instant, which was off the charts. The effort was off the charts. So I'm guessing maybe this is early in his career or something.
Well, I agree. I think with a few tweaks, this could be a lot more fun. When the name of the game is scoring, you've got to make your scoring interesting. But how long did you play this?
Lots. I played it because it was so simple. So I could just pick it up and play it. I can play it in my browser on the Mister.
Cumulative time spent.
Probably 4 hours.
You're wrong. You should have never played it that much.
Well, I mean, it broke up over 2 weeks.
Yeah, but that's too much. This game is not a play 4-hour game.
Well, trust me, I didn't play them at once. I would play like maybe a half-hour spurts.
It
does have a one more game appeal.
It does.
It's probably because your game was so quick.
Well, I found that because I played this in 2 segments.
Yeah.
The first segment I played the most time. I played for it was about an hour.
Yeah.
And I quit because I got frustrated.
Yeah.
The second time I played it, I only played it for like 30 minutes. Because I had a really good game. I was like, I ain't going to do better than that. I quit.
It's hard to get momentum in your games on this thing, but when you get it, you hold on to it. It's funny, in the chat, a lot of people are mentioning that this also reminds them of Spy Hunter. And to a certain degree, it can be as frustrating as Spy Hunter, and Spy Hunter's a lot more congested. You have a lot less track to work with on there, but I can understand, especially some of those cars, you feel like you're hitting that indestructible car over and over again.
It's definitely, in my opinion, it's definitely closer to Spy Hunter than it is Bump and Jump. But I don't, Spy Hunter definitely has a more fleshed out game as well.
I would agree with you, Brent. So, that was our look at Demolition Derby. An interesting, fun game that you can kill a couple minutes with. That's the way I would go with it.
Oh,
and the 2 players, we'll have to put that on our list for stuff to play on.
Thanks
for giving.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a few upcoming things before we get down to our next game on the COCO show. Of course, we've got several months, but of course, the day after Thanksgiving, we will be doing Thanksgiving Marathon. With more details to come on that. We've got International Computer Club coming up in September. Should be a lot of fun. We've been releasing a lot of stuff on the channel. If you missed last week's ARG Presents, it was our 300th episode. Hop over and catch that. It was a lot of fun. It included Brent's wacky music video.
It wasn't just mine. You were there too.
Well, I mean, under your guidance, I was there. But that's definitely a Brent joint. It's been received quite well. And I've had some pretty well-received Friday Night Disaster streams the past couple weeks. So a lot of good stuff to check out over on the Amigos Retro Gaming channel. We'd love it if you'd have a look at it. And heck, while you're there, we never say this, but we should. Give us a like, subscribe, give us the business. Give us the iTunes review. Let's get them all in. We could use some iTunes reviews. Why not? I don't know how many the COCO shows got. Might as well get another one in. Stand up with the COCO, brother. Shall we see what we're going to be playing next time around on the COCO show? This one is coming forthwith. Bam. It's Sinistar with 2 A's. I love That is classic COCO baloney right there. The Sinistar with stars spelled with 2 A's.
How can we get around the copyright? Add an A.
It's not quite as, my favorite is still Crystal Castles when they spelled it wrong. That's my favorite. Crystal Castle spelled wrong. But Sinistar is another one that looks like it'll be a lot of fun. And if you're watching the video of this, it's the only thing I could get for as a cover is the old plastic cover. So I mean it's in a baggie. It's one of those.
Baggy game.
Baggy games sometimes are your money games, man.
And sometimes they're not.
So thanks for joining us. So we'll be back next week with ARG Presents, the Brent. Do you recall what we're doing on ARG Presents? It was some wacky machine. I can't remember what it was.
I know I haven't looked into it at all yet, which is usually a bad sign.
Yeah, so hop into ARG Presents next week. Well, you'll see something. Something will happen, that's for sure. That's all we got, everybody. So until next time around the COCO Show, all hail
Curtis L. Boyle?
Close. It's L. Curtis Boyle. Idiot. Curtis, beat him. He's an idiot, Curtis. Beat him. Get your name wrong.
That's not the way you usually close the show.
That's the way me and Bo closed it for years. That's why I thought it'd be fun to do it again. We got to hail the Kurt. So we're like about 20 minutes from hooking up online with the legendary Dean Bent.
Well,
Dean Bent.
Minutes.
Dean Bent will be here. Are you excited to meet the Bentster? I've never talked to him in real life. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, don't worry. Hey, O-Rom. Hey, what's up, TLNA? That's okay. Yeah. So we are going to be broadcast. We're just going to keep the ball rolling for a while because I'm going to set up for this anyway. So while I'm setting up for this, Brent will entertain you with his wacky antics.
Did you record that, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I thought I'd just screw it.
Oh, you know. Sometimes you do.
I've never failed to record. It may be not that often. It happens occasionally. So for those that don't remember, we did a show on Dean Bent. Gosh, it wasn't that long ago, was it, the Brent, when we did the Dean Bent show?
It's been over a month.
Dean Bent, you're probably like, who's Dean Bent? And I can understand that. But in actuality, Dean is he's sort of a journeyman in the game development field.
He's been there a long time.
I'm going to pull up my Dean Bent notes here. Never, ever erase your notes because you never know when you're going to be cranking them back up. Let me find them here. Anyway, Dean is a real nice guy, and he's agreed to give us a few minutes of his time. Let me see here. That was the Striker 2000, which we both played Dean Bent soccer games for whatever reason. That show didn't exactly burn them up, but we did pretty good.
People don't want to watch soccer games?
I've got my Dean Bent facts right here. Oh, I do. I've got Dean Bent facts. You got to have them. I'm gonna. Oh man, I'm gonna get that Zoom lined up. You think we should just come back in a half hour till we get this thing ready to go, so we don't have people sitting there bored for a half hour?
I mean, I can entertain them.
No, I don't know about that. Oh, God. That sucks. That's your entertainment. You like those guys that point you to the dry cleaners on the side of the road. Yeah, let's go ahead and...
Well, if you go away, then there won't be an audience. So I say you just keep it running.
Yeah, but they want to just sit here and listen to us ramble for 20 minutes?
Well, if they show up to hear us do that,
well,
that's probably.
That's a valid point. Well, then enjoy for a minute while I get this thing ironed out. Brent, I'll just keep the camera on here and you can chat away.
Oh, and you immediately take chat from me.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know I did that. Come on, start chatting. What's the problem? Get the chat, boy.
All right, chat. So camera suggestions, that's out there. Thanks for giving. Is there any games or systems that you would like to see? Start thinking about that. I know it's still pretty early.
Yeah, it is.
But that's always something that we like to prepare a little bit ahead of time. Always, that's my favorite event. That's the favorite thing that we do. I love Thanksgiving. But Thanksgiving's my favorite holiday.
I like Thanksgiving because of all the grub.
You do work.
Oh, sorry. I can't chime in.
No, because you lose focus, and before you know it, we're talking about saw blades or something. Let's see. Another thing, we've got ICC coming up, and if you want to sign up for ICC...
It's up. The sign-up sheet's up.
Yeah, the sign-up sheet is available. You can just go to the Discord and sign up. And literally, you can talk about anything that you're passionate about that loosely fits into what we do. If you're working on a project, if you're shooting a video to release, if you've got a concept show that you're wanting to bounce around, 3D printing, art, world of emulation, literally anything that you want to go and present as sort of, and you don't have to be an expert on it, but you should obviously know what you're talking about. It's all good stuff. Come join us for ICC. Aaron runs it. Usually runs, we're shooting for 4 hours, but it always runs more than that.
I'm not shooting for 4 hours. I'm shooting for 3 hours, but it never goes that long.
No, it always goes far longer than that.
Yeah. You've never once attended one of those, not one single time. And I've asked you over and over, hey, why don't you show up for this? You never come. So is this going to be the time where you finally visit ICC or, dare I say, even present something?
What would you want me to present? I'm just curious.
Well, I don't know. What would you like to talk about? I don't tell people what to present. They present on their own.
To be fair, you don't present at it either.
I can't present and MC it.
I'm just saying.
Come on.
Hey, I'm just pointing out a factual observation.
I'm just saying that factual observation blows. I can't do it all. Ignore this for a second, everybody. I'm doing a little magic here. You can keep going.
Man, we have spam-a-mania this session.
When you attain a certain level of prominence, then you absolutely, that's when the spam comes out. That's when they're like, okay, they've done it. They are so cool and great that they've actually, we can spam them and feel good about it.
If anyone has kill powers, feel free to nuke that man into oblivion.
Yeah, but they can't see that.
Yeah, no, the moderators can.
What is this? Does this mean I can kill it if I click that? I'm not going to do it, though.
Okay.
I'm afraid to. I don't want to touch anything.
Well moderated.
Well, yeah, that's why I don't moderate that much.
And that's why the rabble runs rapid.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. With our camera problems, I'm afraid to, go to another scene, so I'm just going to build the scene for Dean Bent right here.
That makes
sense. We do it, yeah. That's what we're going to do here. So, yeah.
You can watch real-time OBS construction.
Oh, yeah. That's what the people come for right there.
So, Aaron,
yeah.
Something else that
I get to talk now?
Oh, well, you can listen. Terry would like to have a main machine.
Terry wants one.
Yes, Terry would like to have one in the house.
Really?
She wants a nice-looking cabinet. Doesn't have to be perfect. Ideally, she would like to have a Burger Time cabinet, but obviously those are far, far too expensive.
All right.
So, if anyone out there that is local, and by local I mean 200 miles, 250 miles, that has a arcade cabinet.
Wait a minute, you're not gonna do it yourself?
No. A cabinet, not a main machine. I'm just looking for a cabinet. We can put the computer and stuff in it.
Well, we can come up with a cabinet, surely, can't we?
Can we?
You don't think we can?
I mean, it's always better to have more eyes out there looking than less.
Well, I guess.
But yeah, she's actually talked about it several times at this point. That she would like to have a cabinet for the house.
Just buy her Burger Time cat. That's really what she wants.
Because I don't got $2,500 to spend on an arcade cabinet right now. That'd be primary reason number one. Them things expensive, yo. I would really rather not do a one-up.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. Why not? That's not really an answer.
Dude, I'm past I'm past where I would prefer to have a 1-up. I would even rather have a full-size arcade machine that's gutted with an LCD monitor. I think I would go that route before I would go 1-up. Not that a 1-up is a bad machine.
Well, they're not the best, are they?
Well, I would rather have a full-size cab. It's not often that your wife's like, "Hey, I would like a full-size arcade cabinet to put into the living room."
It's never like that, actually.
Yeah, that's true.
Is there a certain? So you're gonna gut an actual cabinet? I'm trying to think. We don't have anything, do we? I mean, usually we've got something sitting around.
Normally, we've been out of the game for a long time, and that's unfortunate. But it is what it is.
I could call our guy over in Buffalo and see if he's got anything lying around the garage.
Yeah, you could.
I'm not gonna like the way that looks. There we go. This is quick and dirty, everybody. Don't judge me.
A pack, if you can know the guy or can get a price of what he would go for that. Yeah, Pack, see what he wants to sell it for. I mean, that'd be quite a adventurous drive for Aaron and I to make, but, adventure's fun.
I hate adventure. Where is he talking about going?
Up in Packbilly land.
You mean down? He lives in the deepest south.
I was going to say down in Packbilly land.
He lives way down there.
Oh, Pack, I wouldn't ask you to do that. We'd come get it.
No, make him No, he can bring it up here. That'd be great. He come up here for a visit, Pack.
Yeah, find out the price. I would. Well, yeah. Hey, I'm not going to say no. But find out a price. Kind of let me know. You can DM me on Discord or whatever. And we'll work out a thing. I wouldn't let you bring it up here unless we paid you for your trouble. On top of
what's this wee crap?
Terry and I.
Oh yeah, that's fine. You and Terry can go to work. That sounds good to me.
I think she would be. She'd be.
You think she's gonna play with this thing if you buy it?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, she has bought those little handheld arcade machines.
Yeah.
That's the NES version.
Yeah.
She'll play on that sometimes. So, and every time she goes over to John's, she plays it. So, hello, Lewis. Other things that are going on. So, camera, arcade machine. Since people seem to enjoy the ARG theme song, I am thinking about, and this is way down the road. I'm considering making songs for the other shows. If anyone,
you're kidding me.
If anyone has a suggestion on what show they would like to see a song for next, and that would either be COCO, ZX, or Atari, or like a umbrella song for the retro rotation. Those 4 things are on the table. If anyone has an opinion on which one they think they'd want to see next,
where would you play the retro rotation one at?
Probably ARG.
We've already got a theme song for ARG.
No,
you made it.
It wouldn't be a theme song. It would just be a song about the show. It's funny, Lewis. In my old house, I had a basement arcade until the basement got taken over by my kids because they went to college and stored a bunch of stuff in my basement. So the arcade machines came upstairs. Well, they started upstairs, then went to the basement, and then came over to the studio where I'm surrounded by them now. If I was closer to the camera, I'd show them to you.
Too lazy.
But the place I'm living at now, where it's just my wife and myself, we have an area that we don't know what to do with it. And I was going to try to do a projector where we could watch movies, but the longer we thought about it, it just seemed to make less sense because Terry and I don't do that very often. The other alternative was she suggested putting a pool table in.
Ooh, pool table. That sounds good.
But the only way I'd get a pool table is if I could get a full-size pool table. And the only way we can get a full-size pool table is if we tore out a wall. And we're not going to do that. So we've kind of decided on a little gaming area where we would... Don't make that the background. That's too busy. Okay.
You talk. I'll work.
We would like to have an area that we can play board games in, have an arcade machine... if I ever can get a Punchy the Clown pinball machine,
good luck.
That would go in there because it's one of those snub nose ones.
Where would you get that?
There's been one on eBay for years.
What's that? What's it cost? Like $1 zillion?
It's expensive, yeah, and hence why I haven't gotten it.
So I'm gonna make that a little bit bigger.
But there's a couple of the stub nose pinball machines that I'd like to get. Punchy the Clown being absolutely number one, though.
Is that one any good?
No, it's horrible.
Oh.
But it's...
And why would you want it? You'd have to be stuck playing with it all the time.
It's the only ticket-giving
pinball
machine.
There it is.
That would unlike some of the other ones that were you could modify to dispense tickets, this is the only one that was designed as a pinball machine to be a ticket game. And I just think that's such an interesting concept.
You and the tickets. This is what I don't get that with you.
I like what I like, man. And
nobody wants those tickets. Nobody cares about that crap at the home arcade.
No. Well, first of all, that is incredibly not true. The ticket aspect of the basement arcade was wildly successful.
It was. That was around for like what, 1-2 parties, and that was it.
No, years.
No,
I
don't remember that.
We did stuff. Aaron, you weren't involved in everything that went in on the arcade.
That's why it was a horrible failure.
Yeah, exactly. The other things that we're looking to get done at the house. Oh, we have those car seats out of the vans.
Yeah.
Dad was wanting to turn into...
Yeah, I ixnayed that. I told him that wasn't happening. That's too dumb.
Okay, so he's agreed not to do it?
Well, I mean, he told me, well, you know Dad. He's going to do whatever he wants.
Well, we have them.
Yeah.
And we're torn on what to do with them. Either give them to Dad or pitch them. Or give them to Christian, and Christian will do something with them because that's just what he does. Yeah, houses in America, especially where we're at, we're not rural, but we're also not in a city by any means. Our houses are stupid huge. And the house I'm currently in is truly too large for my wife and I. It's way more house than we have any business living in. But, you know, we're not going to downsize just for the sake of downsizing. And we love the location, and we love the house. It's the house I grew up in. So we're just trying to find fun things to do with the extra space. I guess and we already have a building in the back, which is kind of funny because we're still moving stuff to it. It's the storage building in my yard is bigger than this building, correct?
It's in the ballpark.
Yeah. It's funny, these little storage buildings, these little metal storage buildings, the one that I have is actually used for storage, and then we've got the studio/arcade in this one. Very popular around here. Very popular. I guess because you can get them for cheap, and you can do a lot of things with them. So that helps. We do not need it for storage, but that's what we're using it for. We definitely don't need it for an arcade. Have you thought any more about dealing the pinball machines, Aaron?
I have.
And where have you landed on that?
It's on the, you know, folks out there that are listening to us, you never have enough time in your life to get the stuff done you need to do. And you combine that with being lazy, it's a double trouble.
Lazy's tough, yeah.
You know, because like for example, I did work this week. There were a couple days, I had a 350-mile day and a 280-mile day. And when I came home, I wasn't thinking to myself, you know, I'm going to take some pictures and sell these pinball machines. I was thinking to myself, boy, I'm tired. Time to lay down, lay the old bones down, and watch some TV and have a pancake. That's pretty much what I was thinking, or sleep. And so that's my problem. It's like the one thing about doing the show is like, or doing all this stuff, it's like I've always got tons of stuff to do, and so I don't get as much done as I would hope. You know, that's the way it is. You know, so but yeah, it's a problem.
Oh yeah, we're frozen, Aaron.
Are we? Oh man, sorry everybody.
Look at us not go.
I think it's because I tried to get Zoom going. That's my bad.
Thank you, Dunk.
All right, hold on, everybody. We'll get it ironed out here. It is weird because the backdrop behind us is still going. That's what makes it better. Hang loose here, buddy.
I do like how we're just stuck in the void too.
Hang loose, everybody. We'll be right back.
Go play in traffic then.
What's wrong with you? Nasty. Sorry about that, everybody. We're back. Had to do a little reset-a-rooney here.
What is this one?
Start recording. Start virtual camera. I need it for the.
Oh, okay.
I need it for the gimmick there. You know, so. Oh, let me put the chat back up. I get my. Sorry, everybody. Trying to serve two masters here. What time we got here? So Dean's gonna be on at noon. So yeah, we got about. We're almost
15
there.
15 minutes.
Try this again. Yeah, I get that a lot.
And oddly enough, I also get that a lot, Matt.
Okay. You know, for once, I actually memorized my password to this thing.
Dunk says you need to bump us down a little bit because we're flying.
Oh, thank you, Dunk. There we go. He's producing in real time. What a pro. Okay. So, theoretically, we should be just about ready to go. Let me go ahead and add a, let's see, we'll add a,
So a new Dave & Buster's opened up.
Oh, jeez.
Within driving distance of us.
That thing's already screwed me already once, that Dave & Buster's.
How
we
so?
went there last Sunday to check it out after the big grand opening. They were closed.
They were closed?
They opened on Monday after the grand opening.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was dumb. Why would you do that?
If they're not open, no. You went when the soft opening was.
I was not happy.
So I've been to it. Terry and I went.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Give us a scoop.
Terry and I went, and we ate and walked around. She played some games, and we went home. So,
wow.
Here's my.
That sounds riveting.
Here's my experience with the new Dave & Buster's.
All right.
First off, 70% of their tables are high tables, which is the bar-sized tables where you're an extra 2 foot off the ground and you've got to climb into a high chair like a toddler.
Yeah.
dumb. You cannot do that. That was a extraordinarily poor choice for the location.
Well, I mean, it's sort of a bar, right? That's what the whole point of it is.
Well, it's a bar and a restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay, and they have normal tables, but they don't have nearly enough of them. And of course, the normal tables were packed because that's where everyone wanted to sit because people don't want to have to climb to their seat. So we got a high table, and the seats were incredibly. I get it. I'm a big fat guy, and I know that some people's experience with this might be different. But I found the seats incredibly uncomfortable. Got our food. The food was good. I got no problem with the food outside of the price, but we'll get to that. And it's high scale bar food. We got cheese fries. She got fish and chips. And I got a chicken parmesan pasta.
Yeah.
Food was all good. All drinks were good. We were there their true opening day. So of course the place is mega overstaffed, and you've got 1 million people checking on you at every twist and turn. Yeah, I accept that because I know that that's not going to be the norm. We probably had 7 different people ask us how it was going. And I hate that when I'm dining, but that's fine.
When you're dining.
What?
The way you said that. Said it so smarmy. I despise the help of touching me when I'm dining.
Well, I definitely would despise them touching
That's the way you said it. Go ahead.
So, we finished our food, and we go and we look at the available games. And for those not familiar with the Dave & Buster's, they're a big adult arcade. They've got a bar. They play sports and crap on the televisions, and all of their games are big. You know the multi-car Daytonas and virtual reality headset games, all that kind of stuff.
So they had some good arcade stuff in there. You said virtual. They had Daytonas. Multiple.
They didn't have Daytonas.
Oh,
I was giving that as an example.
I was excited for a second because that's a cool game.
And they also have a crap ton of ticket games, because that's sort of what Dave & Buster's is. You go, you play your arcade games, your ticket games, you turn in your tickets for actual decent prizes. You're not getting, thumbtacks and lollipops. You're getting
thumbtacks, lollipops, and rainbows.
You get some actually decent stuff. Well, the game selection, if you've been to other Dave & Buster's, was very lackluster. They are occupying a small space, and I know that there are different sized Dave & Buster's, and this is small even for a small Dave & Buster location. They have multiple conference rooms. I guess that's what their big thing is going to be, is birthday parties and conference events. But I counted five of those rooms that just took up so much space. Every Dave & Buster's has a special or semi-special thing. Some of them have like shooting galleries or bowling.
Sorry, just testing something.
That kind of stuff. Our special thing is a virtual, like you go into a room and it projects things on the floor, and you go over and you step on the number sequences and you run around this little, I don't know, it's like a 15 by 15 room and play games. Not my thing, but the 2 or 3 people I saw playing it seemed to be having a good time, mostly kids. All that's fine. Game selection is, they've got up-to-date games, but they're all, I don't know. I didn't play a single thing.
What?
I didn't play a single game.
Why?
The place was too loud. And I have fairly sensitive ears, and the whole place, the ceilings were open, and there was no soundproofing whatsoever, and it was just a constant roar. And it was busy, and I get that. I couldn't handle it. Terry played the few games she wanted to play, and we left. The whole night cost us $100, which.
What? But you didn't play anything. What was the meal that expensive?
We got an appetizer, 2 entrees, and non-alcoholic drinks, and that bill was $70. So,
holy smokes!
And the food was. I said the food was fine, but it's overpriced. It was fine, but I feel it was overpriced. Will I go back to Dave & Buster's at the mall location? I will, because I want to support them, because I want a real Dave & Buster's put in somewhere. And I'll be happy with what we've got, since otherwise I'd have no Dave & Buster's. But I won't go back for several months. They had no pinball machines. They had no classic arcade machines outside of the large, like Pac-Man type machines. It was fine, but when you compare it to other Dave & Buster's, it was incredibly disappointing. I think they'll do well just because of where they are. They're smack dab in the middle of a mall.
Yeah.
And while most malls around the country are dying, the Huntington Mall in Barboursville, West Virginia is doing really well. So, there you go.
That's a bummer about the gameage. I'm not terribly surprised. What do you think? The boy will have a good time?
Oh, yeah.
He hates loud noise.
Oh, but then don't take him on an off time.
Maybe it'll calm down here eventually, and then.
Well, I think we went.
That food's overpriced, though.
Oh yeah, it is.
They don't realize where they're at because they.
Well, no, people pay it.
Was there a lot of people dining?
Tons.
There are no not high tables.
There are some, but it's the minority. I
mean, I'll sit on a high table.
We went Monday. The Monday they opened around 6:30, and it was jam-packed.
Yeah.
We had to wait to get a table, which is super odd for Dave & Buster's. But I don't know. Oh, and the prize selection, it's obvious to me that they haven't put in their big time prizes, because normally you can get like Oculus Rifts and PlayStations and crap like that. They had none of that merchandise out. They had all of their branded stuff and some of their surprise boxes, mystery box type things. Nothing that I felt was worthy of going after. So,
yeah.
We'll see. I mean, it's super early days, but I won't go back at a peak time. I'll have to go, during a midday when I'm off work or something.
Good assessment there, because like I said, I've tried to get in there twice now, and now I'm going to get in. So I guess now they're permanently open.
And they're open until midnight during the weeks and 1 a.m. on the weekends, and they open at 11.
1 a.m. on the weekends? Really? They're going to keep the mall open that late?
You go in through the movie theater entrance, and you can walk straight to it.
Huh, no kidding. All right, we've got about 5 minutes for a Dean spell, so we only have 40 minutes total with Zoom, so I'm waiting until like a couple minutes in. But we're going to get Zoom fired up and get ready for Dean to show up, so we should be just about ready to go. The microphones look like they're working, and I've managed to build something that resembles an interview scene here in the interim, so that's not too bad. Way to keep blabbing there. That was good info for me, because I've been wanting to go down there. But I had a feeling I'd be disappointed, because I'm not a huge fan of Dave & Buster's, if I'm honest.
Well, which ones have you been to?
I've been to the one in Columbus, and I've been to the one up around Cincinnati. It's the only ones I've been to.
Well, the one in Columbus, if you went to the freestanding one and not the one that they have in a mall.
Yeah, the freestanding one. It was okay. It had lots of sports and stuff in it.
It is by far the better of the two.
Well, yeah, I kind of figured. This is not super big.
Yeah,
so.
Well, the one in Columbus is super large, and I'll enjoy it. We go to Columbus to go to Dave & Buster's, so.
All right, we're fixing to fire this thing up. Let's see if we can get this thing working here. Bear with us for a minute as we try to start this meeting with Mr. Dean Bent. I don't think he'll be here yet, but he should be here directly. Join with audio. Oh, Dean is here. Is that you, Dean? Let me, there he is. Outstanding. Can you hear us, Dean? Beautiful. Dean, I'm getting together the last minutes. It's good to finally see you in person aside from your picture. Let me get you up on our screen here, and then we will fire it up. It's very exciting. You've never actually corresponded with the Brent. He's here beside me. I should be able to see us here. Let me, I've been rigging this up while we've been talking to you, or while we've been waiting to talk to you. Let me get you in here. Let's see here. There it is. Yeah, thankfully, I've used Zoom a few times and all of its wacky eccentricities. Let me get your audio zoomed in here, and then we'll be ready to rock and roll, Dean. Well, you are working in front of a studio audience. Well, not a studio audience, but you do have a crowd here that are watching us film this live. So I'm sure you are used to working under the pressure of prying eyes and given your many various outings over the years. Okay, I think that should be sufficient. The Brent, what do you think?
Yeah.
I got to get his audio in here, and then we'll be ready for you, Dean. And we're just going to jump right in as soon as I get that part ready. Let's see here. We're going to, I think it's this one. Let's see if that works. Dean, can you say something for me?
Okay.
Beautiful. There it is. Let me turn you up on the television, and we'll be ready to go.
Okay.
That little bit needs
Oh,
fixed.
yeah. Sorry, I'll fix that. That actually worked a lot better than I thought, considering the amount of ham and egg I've been putting into this thing. All right. How's that? Are we happy with that?
Yeah, looks good.
You are a perfectionist, the Brent. You don't let me get away with nothing. He's tough on me, Dean. Okay, Dean, I'm going to turn the TV up a little bit so we can hear what you're saying, and
Okay.
I'll crank this up here. We have to actually adjust the TV volume here. Let me grab this. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, it's real low. Say something now, Dean.
Okay. Well, never done anything like this before, so.
That's dandy.
Hope it
Perfect,
goes well.
perfect. All right, I'm going to go to a blank screen, and we're just going to come in, and we're going to start chatting, Dean, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, everybody. We got Dean here, so we're going to go black and come right back. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special ARG event, which we don't have very many of those. We may have never had any ARG events. We are here with former ARG show alumnus, Dean Bent, the Dean Bent. Dean, it's great to finally meet you.
It's good to actually see you guys and to be doing this. This was unexpected, but great to be here.
It's great to have you, Dean. You know, we've got a little bit of time, so we're not gonna screw around. We're just gonna jump in because your career is long and vast, and I want to get some explanation on some of this stuff. You know, before there's always, I've got to know, just out of the gate, did you grow up as a gaming fan? Were you eager to get involved in it? Like, what was your path to your career choice?
It's funny you say that, actually, because I see you've got a COCO there.
Yes, we do.
So my first machine was a Dragon 32.
Oh, yeah.
Same machine, basically. So
Absolutely.
That's what got me started, and I was, back in those days, super addicted to it. And it was a case of I was studying in school, and everything was going in a certain direction, but I was somehow addicted to the gaming and the computing and stuff. Back in those days, my dad would shout at me for, like, burning the electricity and all that, and nothing good is going to come out of this gaming stuff. But eventually, computing sort of stayed with me, even through education, then my first jobs, and then eventually I just applied to a job at US Gold, and thinking, I'd be kind of, everyone there would know a lot more than me, and I wouldn't stand a chance. But they liked me, gave me a job, and and the rest is history. So
I got to ask you, Dean, because I've got your little bio here you helped me with, and you've got something written here that you sort of glossed over. According to what you wrote here, you showed up for the interview a week early. What's up with that? I mean, that's I've heard of promptness.
yeah, it was. I had a few interviews, and I somehow got the dates mixed up, and it was close to Christmas, and I just showed up there, and this guy Tony Bourne, who was the head of their QA department, he interviewed me, and then halfway through the interview, he said, "You do know you're a week early." And then I came back the following week and saw the people who, several other people, because he'd already seen me, and they were all quite impressed. So yeah, it was at the time when I had a 486 PC. I just upgraded by adding a sound card and the CD-ROM drive, so it was now a multimedia machine. And not that many people were doing that kind of thing back then. So they were like, "Oh, this guy knows what he's doing." So yeah.
Now, you worked, of course, you said, as we just mentioned, your first job at US Gold, you were doing support, right? Customer support?
Yep.
I got to ask, because, I mean, US Gold was throwing games around left and right. They were a prolific publisher back in the day. And
yep.
I can imagine that they were getting all sorts of action on those support lines. I mean, what was it like in those halcyon days when they were on fire, working in their customer support area? Like, what kind of stuff would you do back in them days?
Okay, so the calls were basically, you could split them into two. There were gameplay calls. People were stuck on Cruise for a Corpse or Secret of Monkey Island or whatever, and they needed help. Or else there were technical support calls. As PCs were the thing, it was a case of, how do you get 600K of base memory to run Elder Scrolls or something like that?
Oh man!
And so yeah, that was tricky. You were talking people through setting up their autoexec.bat and their config.sys, and just telling them how to, when the Rebel Assault was crashing, you'd have to tell them, "Oh, it's the sound card. IRQ7 can crash it." Blah blah blah. It was an interesting time, but we'd get maybe. Each person would get 100 calls a day at least.
Oh, how many people were working in customer support?
I think we had 5 at the peak. Yeah. So.
Holy smokes! Wow, that's maximum capacity then.
Yeah.
On those lines. Now, you somehow, and you could explain how this happened. How did you go from doing that to somehow getting involved with quality testing of the games? I mean that. And as someone who was working the phones, were you happy to not work the phones and go to the quality testing? Because then you can sit around playing games. Like, what was that like?
Absolutely, it was a nice change, shall we say? The testing team were a couple of doors away, and they'd have a lot of overtime because when it's crunch time, it's all hands needed. So they'd often come to us for help, and so I was always happy to join them, and that's where I started to learn about testing. So, yeah. Nice bit of overtime.
Were there any hiccups making that transition? I mean, going over to testing, did you find yourself a fish out of water, or did you kind of flow into it naturally?
Yeah, it was natural, I think. I mean, we're just sitting there playing games. It was, back then, we barely even used databases and stuff to log the bugs. We just used a Word document and stuff. So,
did you hand it directly to a programmer in those cases?
No, we worked with the producers, and the producer was the one who kind of had to relay all the issues back to the dev team. So,
were there any games you remember from back in your days at US Gold that were particularly buggy that you guys just got slammed? It was poor work.
I remember, so we looked after the first Elder Scrolls game back then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, except the first release had a bug that meant you couldn't finish it.
Ooh.
And I remember speaking to, I think he was a lawyer or someone, but he was a really angry customer, and he had taken the week off work to play the game, and he got to this bug, and he was about to sue us, basically.
Wow.
You don't want to piss off the lawyer that's a game player.
Yep.
That's a bad times. Now, moving along, now you, of course, eventually, you've got this in your little bio here, eventually IDOS bought US Gold. Now, so you spent some time with IDOS as well after that, or were you, when they did the transition, did you move on?
Yeah, I spent about a year, I think, with them. It was funny, just before IDOS bought us, we'd bought Core Design, and I was like, oh, those guys are really good. And that was when Tomb Raider was being developed. So I stayed with IDOS. I think I left after Tomb Raider 2 or something like that. So, yeah.
Was there, it's amazing. You think about it, how huge US Gold was, and they were the biggest player for a while.
Yep.
Were you surprised that they got bought like that?
Yeah. It was unexpected, but it was a case of a lot of other companies have started to catch up and overtake US Gold.
Yeah.
I remember Virgin Interactive seemed to be our big competition at that time. And basically these guys at IDOS, they had money. So,
That seems to always win.
Yep.
Now you went from IDOS. Is that when you made the jump over to Rage,
Yep.
or did you have a little? Was there how did you make that? How did that happen? Moving to Rage, is that in this situation where you just applied and went in, or did they? Okay, so they didn't come and get you. You went there.
Yeah. No, I went there, and they liked the fact that I'd been. Okay, so Rage were a game developer, and they wanted to be a publisher.
Yeah.
And because I was working for a publisher, they liked the fact that, what I could bring to them. They had no knowledge of customer support, no knowledge of QA even. They literally had artists and programmers. So when I came in to set up firstly it was to set up the customer support department. But then I realized the need for QA was probably bigger. So even though, at that point, then I pulled in a couple of the guys who I knew from US Gold to join us, and then we started off a small team. And at that time, we were doing both customer support and QA. So,
how many teammates did you bring in with you from the other company?
From US Gold, just two others. Two really good guys, and eventually everyone else we had after that, we just hired from fresh and just trained them. So I think in the end we had maybe 15 people.
I remember Rage, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, Dean, but weren't Rage one of the guys? They were sort of. I remember them from the PC in the 3D card world. Am I wrong here? And they were getting in on that sort of like the Monster 3D and all that other stuff that was. Because I remember early 3D I couldn't afford any of it, but I remember seeing it. I do remember their name popping up on there. And of course, they ended up moving around to the consoles as well. Yep. So you were there, how long had they just started kicking in on the 3D about your time, or had they been in it for a while?
So yeah, so I remember Tomb Raider back at US Gold or IDOS. We had they really patched for that with all 3D cards and 3D effects. And that was a massive business. And when I moved to Rage, and I saw that they were working on some cool 3D games, I contacted the guys I knew at Orchid who were doing the 3D effects cards back then, and they started doing deals. I wasn't in that field. We had sales guys who took care of all the rest of it, but it was a case of Incoming, which is the 3D game that we started working on when I moved to Rage. That guy eventually bundled just about every video card that was going.
Yeah.
Back then,
pretty
there was
good
a
game
huge.
too.
Yeah, it was. It was a looker. It played well. Perfect thing to bundle with your new video card. So.
We when we did your Dean Bench show, I believe I see you did Beckham soccer, mm-hmm. I believe, and I did a soccer game too. And they were both Rage games. By the way, I was a big fan of the. I thought the Beckham game was great. My kid got into it. He still plays it. How were the times at Rage? Because it's funny. They were a big company, and then they sort of weren't, right? That's pretty much the way it went down, right?
Yeah. So back at the sort of turn of the century, we had the dot-com boom, and Rage were somehow recognized as being an important company then, and we grew and grew and grew on the strength of that alone. I think at the peak we had 10 studios around the UK.
Wow.
Yeah, and my team were the only QA department. So basically, whenever a studio had a title which was coming to completion, like getting towards beta, we would send a team of our guys to work at their studio to help them finish off the game. So yeah, it was Rage were amazing. They've got a massive history before even before I joined. But yeah, they were massive in the 3D PC game arena, and then they also moved into console as well. So,
did you, when you came out of course, you started at US Gold as working the phones, and now you've moved on to Rage, and you're actually gaining some prominence here. I mean, is Rage where you really started moving up dramatically up the pecking order there because I mean that's what was that transition like? I mean, did you come into the US Gold with a lot of good praise from there? I mean, how did you move up so, I don't want to say quickly, but I mean, you went up the scale. What would you attribute that to? What was that like?
Interesting. I would say it's a relatively small industry. So people talk. Your reputation kind of precedes you, if you like. So if I did a bad job at US Gold, they would have known about it. But I think, yeah, one of my boss at Rage actually knew someone who worked at US Gold and said good things about me. So it wasn't so difficult. It was like I just kept doing what I was doing previously, just a guy who was happy to be working in gaming, really. So,
did you have a favorite game over there that you were involved in?
At Rage, I guess it would have been Hostile Waters. Antaeus Rising, I think that was the subtitle of the tagline. But that was, yeah, we were all really pleased on that one. Yeah. Can't think if there's anything else. I love Denki Blocks as well. That was the sort of the same guys who did David Beckham, Go Beckham. Yeah, Denki Blocks is a fun puzzle game as well.
That's the only one of the ones I've actually heard of from that group. Now, so we mentioned that Rage just closed its doors, probably mostly unexpectedly. And so were you there to the bitter end, or had you already jumped out? You were. So what's it like? I mean, I don't want to kick a company when it's that, but what's it like to see a company like that just fall apart, especially if you've worked hard and you're gaining prominence? And what's that like?
Yeah, it was sad times actually. We were there knowing that basically once we had 10 studios, the headcount was just too much to sustain a game taking 1 to 2 years to develop, all those salaries to pay, all those studio costs to keep. So it was sad because, you could see 1 or 2 studios being either shut down or sold off or whatever. The really sad thing from my point of view was we pretty well had a good run. The last few games we did things like we had the Rocky license, and we did a really good game on back then, I guess it was GameCube, Xbox One, PS2. And we also had the Lamborghini license just waiting to come out. And that was a really nice racing game. And I think basically we'd started to make money. And from what I understand, that was when the bank decided to shut us down because they got their money back and they didn't want to take any more risks. So
crazy.
Yep.
It's funny how that's backers are everything in this stuff. It is a tragedy, but I'm not terribly surprised. That's just sometimes it happens. I know you left there and went to an outfit called Babel Media, but I'm going to skip ahead here because I want to make sure I talk about this while we got you here for a limited amount of time. I want to talk about your time at Nokia. I'm sure you knew this was coming because when you sent me this information, I was giddy, having tangled with the N-Gage myself. They moved you out to Germany, right, to work as the N-Gage QA manager. So I've got to ask you right away. Here you are. They show you the technology that they ultimately assume will be the N-Gage. So you're getting in there probably before the thing's been manufactured, still in the planning phase, I'm guessing. You can stop me if I'm wrong here. So give me, what was the process of that, getting that thing off the ground?
Well, actually, so at Babel Media, that was when I had, that was when I was introduced to the N-Gage, and it was all very secretive and hush-hush there because it was not yet launched, and they wanted me to work on the launch titles, get them all ready for release. So back then, we actually had production units, even when I was at Babel. And then when I moved to Nokia itself, it was already, let's say, 6 months in. It was a going concern at that point. It was disappointing when we learned that under the hood it was just a regular phone. It was nothing special, no gaming hardware.
Because up to a certain point, you had thought otherwise, right? I mean, you thought this was going to be a bigger hardware spectacle than it turned out to be. Was there a change? Was there a point where it was going to be that, and then they changed it to just being a phone?
I think back then, Nokia were new to gaming, so they just assumed it was a powerful phone with an ARM processor, which was, I don't know what speed. Yeah. But it was, at that time they thought it was PS1. You could compare it to a PS1, but it wasn't. It wasn't. It was.
No, it was not. Clearly.
Nowhere near. Yeah. So I think they had to learn themselves about gaming. And I remember we worked for a long time on the sequel or successor to the N-Gage. We called it Game Deck 2. And that would have been special if that was ever released. That had at the time, the big portable device would have been the PSP, and this would have killed it, basically. This would have been so much more powerful.
Really?
Yeah, it was. It was I don't know, you'd imagine something like, like the communicators, which was sideways, sort of, and you flip up the screen and you have the whole game deck thing. And it had, I think at the time, the most powerful processor was the 600 megahertz ARM. I think the PSP was something like 33 megahertz, something like that. And it would have had accelerated graphics and everything. But in the end, they decided, that's quite a risk for Nokia. They're not really making money on the N-Gage, and they would have to spend a lot of money on a new device. So they decided, no, that's never going to happen. So
now you you QA'd a good chunk of the N-Gage library, software library, correct? As that stuff was passing through you, what were your feelings? I mean, did you think to yourself, maybe we'll pull this off, or did you think to yourself, we're boned?
I knew that the days were kind of limited, if you like, because no third-party publisher took the chance to release a game on the N-Gage. It was all funded by Nokia. And you know that you can't fund the entire ecosystem without, it's just never going to work. So even though we had people like EA and Sega and those guys releasing games, Nokia funded everything. So I was quite pleased, I have to say, with a lot of the games, we did in Europe. For example, Colin McRae Rally, I think that won some sort of, was it a BAFTA award or something like that for a mobile game that was like unheard of. And we worked with some developers who really could get the most out of it. Like Tomb Raider, I thought was actually decent on the device. But then you'd do a game like Sonic and it just couldn't even do the scrolling properly, Yeah. So it was a weird device, just not really ideal for gaming.
This is my curiosity. Did you have an N-Gage that you carried around and used and played with, like on your free time? That's the key, isn't it? If something's a success or not.
No, I of course we all had the device. I probably got 3 or 4 knocking around somewhere. But I think I'd rather at that time, I think it was Game Boy Advance, or no, it was a Nintendo DS. I think I'd rather be using, So.
Yeah. So, it's funny you mentioned that the successor to the N-Gage, because I honestly didn't realize one had even been thought. I just assumed that Engage was such a disaster. They were like, we're out. So the fact that they got when you say that you heard about the specs, I mean, how far do you figure they got into the sequel? I mean, they didn't have a prototype or anything, I'm sure, but
No.
did they had the stats set up for it? Like they were fairly close to thinking about going for it, you figure?
Yeah, they got to the point. So at this point now, they're starting to talk to us about what we think we should have in a gaming deck, rather than just some guys out there somewhere creating what they think we want. And so we had some level of involvement in, you've got to do it this way, you can't do it this way kind of thing. It's got to be landscape gaming. You can't do portrait gaming on a device like that. So they were listening, and I think it may have even got to the point where they started speaking to the hardware companies about getting the chips and stuff. But the big thing was that there had to be some huge board meeting where they had to decide basically to go or not go with it. And that was when they decided, nah, it's too much, we're not going to go. So there was no prototypes or anything.
Sure.
Now, Nokia, they're out of, where's it? Is it Finland they're out of? Where were they out of? Is that, so were you living over in, because it says here you had been in Germany, but at some point you moved to Finland proper, correct?
Yep. They moved me to the head office after about 2 years. So.
I hear a lot of people that are sort of doing your same sort of work, they move a lot. Is that just part of the parcel and part of the trade of doing what you do? You get moved to different countries a lot. What did you think about all the movement that you were going through?
Yeah, it just made life interesting. I was never. I mean, I actually didn't want to move to Finland, I have to say. My family are Jamaican, and
Really?
I never wanted to move to a cold country.
No, that was my next question, because I hate the cold. And where were you, like Helsinki or somewhere? Yeah. I mean, it's double cold up there. We got friends up in Finland. I don't know how they do it. So I can imagine. So Nokia sold. Did they sell their whole Engage division? Is that what happened to? They sold parts. They sold to Microsoft. Is that right? Am I remembering correctly?
Actually, the whole company was just sold to Microsoft.
The whole company. Gosh.
So
did you do some time at Microsoft as well, or were you out the door?
I was already gone at that point. So basically, a Canadian guy, Stephen Elop, was the CEO at this point, and he straight away started axing people left, right, and center to try and cut costs.
Yeah.
We didn't realize at the time it was kind of he was kind of grooming the company for a sale to Microsoft. So he was just cutting down the costs and
trying to make it more attractive from a bottom line. Yeah. Now, according to your notes here, as I look down this, you left Nokia and you set up your own company and ended up working for the Angry Birds people. Is that right?
Yeah.
That sounds it. So how did this all come about?
Okay, so we'd worked a bit with Rovio when I used to be at Engage. So they were doing Bounce for us at that time. And when Angry Birds came, when I started my own company, and I was like, I don't know, I just thought I got to start approaching companies, and they were the first one I approached. And they remembered me from Nokia. And so they were happy to start working with me. So again, I had to hire a few guys. I hired all the early QA team, actually. I think some of the guys are still there. But at that time, they were, I don't know, like 50 people maybe. And then when I left, there was at least 80. And then a few years later, they became 800. And I honestly do not know what all those people were doing. But yeah, Rovio, they obviously grew a lot with Angry Birds. And it was a fun project. I worked on the first 3 Angry Birds games, but I'm kind of glad I left when I did, because they just kept doing the same thing over and over again. So, yeah.
Yeah, they definitely milked it for probably longer than they should have.
Yeah.
I still play that game, by the way. My kid plays it. The Star Wars one, the regular one, and we also saw the film. I ended up. My kid was a big fan. I mean, I think they're fun games. I always thought they were fun.
Yeah.
You know, so listen, if that's something to hang your hat on, frankly, as far as I'm concerned. That's a game that was like a big time, you know, that made a ton of money off that, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was. For a while, I didn't need a CV. I'd just say, hey, I worked on Angry Birds, and everyone knew that.
When you work on a huge title, like, I mean, you were sort of in there when Tomb Raider came around. Here you're sort of working on, how big of a, does that give you a good boost when you're looking for work or whatnot?
Yeah, it's when you work on the cool games that like have financial success, that's always a nice bonus.
Yeah.
But then you often work on other games which aren't so successful, but I don't know, you have a good rapport with the team or something, so that's also nice as well. So
word of mouth is a real big deal. Yeah, reputation. That makes sense. You know, we're running out of time here, but there's a couple things I want to get to for sure. And one of the things that you'd written up here is that you did a little stint here at Codemasters.
Yep.
Codemasters, I've always heard they're an odd group. What was it like to run through Codemasters?
Yeah. Okay. So Codemasters had several sites, several studios. I was working in the Birmingham studio, which, strangely enough, is kind of like the remnants of Rage. The Birmingham studio was bought by Vivendi and then by Codemasters. So there were maybe 20 guys I was already familiar with because we used to work together at Rage. So that was a really good job for me, a really good position. The only thing is I was working on the mobile version of the Formula One game.
Oh, yeah.
And the developer they weren't good. Probably the worst I've ever worked with, if I'm honest. But the team in Birmingham and Codemasters generally, I put it this way, last week I went out for a meal with two of them. You know, we still got on really well. So,
you know, we talked about your globe trotting, and according to this bio here, you went to work for a crew named Spirasoft out of Russia. Is that right? So you moved to Russia for a while.
Yep.
Now, what was that like?
That was interesting times, actually. It was I just fancied a change, and definitely got it there. So I applied for this job and had 3 interviews, and each interview we were talking about moving to Krakow in Poland. And I started doing my research on the place. It looked like it was a nice town, and after the 3rd interview, they wanted to speak to me, and I'm like, oh, maybe I messed it up or something. I don't know. It doesn't sound good when they just want to speak to me. And I'm like, okay, they're going to give me some feedback, I guess. But they said, actually, Dean, we want you to join us, but we don't want you to join in Poland. We want you to join in our Russia office in St. Petersburg. And I was like, really? How come? They said, well, the project we wanted you to work on has changed, so we now want you to work on this project. And they went through all the benefits, and I was like, okay, it sounds like it's a good deal. So it was initially an 18-month contract, and I thought, yeah, this is fine. And then after that finished, they gave me another 12 months. So ended up being in Russia for 2.5 years.
Wow. That's crazy. At least you were there during the quiet times.
Yeah.
That's for sure. You worked on some pretty big stuff too. Rainbow Six, Siege, which I've got the TeamSpeak regulars. My gaming crew love that game.
All right.
And the Mortal Kombat mobile stuff.
Yeah.
And a few other things like Halo Infinite. That's interesting. So and now you're working on obviously at this point in your career, stuff that much more modern stuff that people that are into modern gaming might know about. You ended up after getting out of that. Ultimately, I guess you're still there. Tell us what so you've left Russia, and we're entering the more current era of your life here in terms of what you're doing. So, talk us through what you've been up to in the past several years, because you've been working on some interesting stuff.
Yeah. So I actually moved back to Finland, so this is now my 2nd stint living in the cold country. I can't
They never send you to Tahiti, do they?
No. I'm jinxed like that. I don't know. But yeah, I moved back to join this company called Housemarker, a Finnish gaming company. They did things like oh God, what did on the I remember in the Amiga days they did this superb looking sort of asteroids game. Forget the name of it. But yeah, those guys have been going around forever, and they were working on this game called Returnal when I joined them, PS5 game. And when they showed me during the interview, I thought, I want to work on this game. This is like, this is such a cool looking game. But I didn't end up lasting too long there because I joined at the start of the pandemic, and it was just weird. I was managing teams from a hotel room. It just didn't work for me. So when a mate of mine at NVIDIA contacted me and said he thinks they have the perfect job for me, and I was like, okay, let's give it a go. And I ended up getting that job, and that worked out much better because those guys are kind of used to this remote work life. So I tend to work from home mainly, and I've been working on such, like I say, such big global AAA titles like Cyberpunk and Guardians of the Galaxy. More recently, Alan Wake 2. All these big global games, and we now work on adding the latest technology like path tracing or ray tracing to these games, and it's a cool world. I'm still doing what I like to do. I still want to be working with games, but now it's back to working on the hardware side, right? Working with games, but working for a hardware company, just like the Nokia times. Yeah.
I love your story because you started out in the trenches, and I mean, ultimately worked your way up to one of the biggest companies, if not the biggest company on the planet, NVIDIA, they've been off the charts here recently.
Absolutely.
I mean, and that's what I enjoyed. I enjoyed hearing and looking at your exploits because they were just so diverse, especially coming from U.S. Gold and moving all the way up to NVIDIA. And everything in between, I found it quite amazing. Do you still play games in your spare time? Or are you burnt out when you get home? Or do you still go home and have a game or two now and once in a while?
Of course I play games. That's what it's all about.
When you go home to play a comfort game, what do you throw on?
I shouldn't admit this. I've been playing this Bloons game for like 10 years at least. This tower defense game.
Bloons 6?
Yep.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Such a good game.
It is.
That's great.
I sometimes play Forza Horizons as well. I play online with friends. I've started playing the Doom reboot as well. Was it 2019 when it came out? A few years back.
Yep.
And that one I really loved. So I've gone back to it for a second time, which rarely happens,
That's great. Well, listen, Dean, we appreciate you taking some time to talk to us on a Sunday afternoon. We've been trying to get this together for a while, so it's great to finally talk to you and meet you. It was great when you touched up with me on email. I was surprised, but it's so much fun. I really enjoyed your episode too. It's one of my favorite ones we ever did, just because it's so wacky. And hopefully we can get you back sometime for a deeper dive, because there's some stuff I really want to dig into that we get to just barely glaze. But thank you very much for hanging out with us, Dean, and hopefully we'll keep in touch in the future. And good luck. God knows where you're going to go next, and who knows what horribly cold country. If they put a studio up in Antarctica, you'll be ready to go.
Oh, please, give me one hot country.
Thank you very much, Dean.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Dean. We appreciate that, man. Your
thank
story's
you,
great. I may tap you one of these days for a little more in-depth action on some of that stuff if you're game.
Yeah, sure. Let's see how this one goes first.
Thanks a lot. Hey, thanks everybody who was checking us out live. We appreciate you. We're going to let everybody finally get to their lunches or dinners, depending on where you're at. Have a good afternoon, everybody. We'll take you guys next week. Have a good one. Say goodbye, Brent.
Bye, everybody.